a piece of chalk. Plus, the magician exposes one of magic's oldest and baffling escapes. Then, find out how to impale a girl with a rose and slice her in half with a medieval torture device. And it's one of the most dangerous illusions ever. See how the magician walks through a spinning industrial fan and lives to show you how it's done. When magic's biggest secrets finally revealed returns.
For his next illusion, the masked magician is a trick that street magicians have used to fool their unsuspecting victims. While cruising a parking lot, he happens upon a random car with the registration displayed inside the windshield. He makes sure we can see that the registration is definitely underneath the glass. But you know he's up to something. Walking alone in a deserted parking lot? Let's watch. He covers the registration with his hand, rubs the glass, and now look at this. He's reached through the glass and is pulling the registration slip out. This has got to be illegal. So much for expensive car alarms. The owner of this vehicle is in for quite a shock. No chips, breaks, or cracks. It's safety glass after all. And the magician has registered another hit. I bet he can even open the door lock without a wire hanger. I think it's safe to say that the magician doesn't really reach through the glass of a random car and pull out the registration. But how does he do it? The first secret is the car isn't random at all. This one has a beautiful assistant hiding in the trunk. Looks like a late model. We see the magician cover the registration with his hand, but what we don't see is that inside the car is a piece of fishing line taped to the back of the slip and running through the car into the trunk. When the hidden assistant gives this line a tug, the registration pulls away from the inside of the window and drops out of view. Here's an angle you don't see. She tugs, and the slip flies. The magician secretly hid a duplicate registration in his hand before the trick began. With his hand against the glass, we never see it. Until, of course, he goes through the magical motions of pulling it through the glass. Actually, he's just pulling it out of his hand. From this view inside the car, you can see just how he does it. And that's how he breaks the law, without breaking the glass. This classic illusion is called the assistant's revenge. You'll find out why in a minute. The magician begins by showing off his latest restraining device. This one resembles an upright wooden rack. It's got a stock for the neck and heavy leather straps with chrome buckles to confine its victim. But the magician's not going to restrain himself, not when he's got pretty girls around. He calls in one of his lovely assistants and charms her into obediently stepping into place. Looks like she's done this kind of thing before. With her hands up against the stocks, the magician begins to secure her to the rack with the leather straps. She's not struggling, so he must be doing something right. He certainly has a way with leather. Now for the waist. He cinches this strap tight. 2 more to go. Next, he heads below the belt. Ouch, this one is even tighter than her skirt. Still, she doesn't seem to mind. One last strap to go to secure her legs, though she doesn't look like the runaway bride type. He checks the straps one more time, then goes for the headstock. This updated version of the medieval restraining device will prevent her neck and hands from any sudden movements. Just to be sure, the magician padlocks this front stock into place. And you thought your boss was tough. When the magician's assistants say they are all tied up at work, they mean it. But this is the glamour of showbiz. Once he's satisfied his assistant's not able to escape, he pulls a curtain that's designed to encircle the entire contraption. But what's this? The curtain's still moving, only the girl is pulling it, and the magician is now locked inside the device. Good for her. Now you know why this illusion is called the Assistant's Revenge. Bye-bye, masked man. Let's see you get out of this one. So how did our masked magician trade places with his bound and beautiful assistant? Here are the secrets. When the illusion begins, the magician secures his assistant to the rack with the straps. I can assure you that the straps are real. So are the headstock and the padlocks. That's because they never really have to open. So how did the assistant make her quick escape? The frame of the rack is actually made of two separate halves. From the back, you can see that hinges along one side allow the rear of the frame to swing open, while Velcro strips along the other side hold it closed. Even though the assistant is really strapped in from the front, she can easily swing open the back and step out anytime she likes. Here you can see her using her fingers to release the Velcro catch and make her escape out of the back. The magician pulls the curtain to block our view of the assistant. As soon as she is hidden, she slips out of the frame and continues pulling the curtain from the other side. Meanwhile, the magician takes her position. As the audience sees that the assistant has switched places with the magician, he is still slipping in to take her place. Here's a secret view of the switch. The assistant pulls open the curtain just as the magician snaps the frame closed, and the illusion is complete. Revenge is sweet, especially when you know the secret.
Next, the startling secrets behind sawing through a woman in an iron cage, conjuring spirits from beyond the grave, and walking through an industrial turbofan without being ripped to shreds. When magic's biggest secrets finally revealed returns.
A medieval torture device. The magician is quite proud of this antique apparatus, and why wouldn't he be? It's an egg-shaped cage made of forged bands of iron. It's empty now, but knowing the magician, this cage won't be empty for long. He calls in two of his assistants who come bearing a small rack. They lift the cage from its heavy-duty mount. and place it down on the rack. Here they can remove the hardened steel pins that secure the two halves of the cage.